Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's working, right? Wait, why chat is not seeing here? Why? One second, 1 second. The chat should appear. Why is not appearing? One moment. Um, Profile. Oh. One second. 1 second. So is chat working? It's not connected for some reason. Hmm. All time these technical problems. Let me see. Okay, copy that. Let's paste it here. Chat. Test. This is appearing eventually. From Twitch is appearing, but now how about from hello? Yeah, we need this too. Yeah, here it's fine, but here it's not fine. Here is good, but there is not good. Okay, let's see what's happening. Why not streaming this tournament? Because I didn't want. I don't know. There is no big reason. I just didn't want to stream. I could, I guess, but I didn't want. Okay, so let's start with game analyze. I'm gonna quickly analyze the game with you guys. So okay, bro, you should put some education content also. There is and you're Exa. What is Exa? I did in the past a lot, so but I will do again. All right, so today I was playing someone who is from Russia, I think, who is around 1800, and I started the game with e4. He responded with d5. Let's turn on the desktop. Okay. So Scandinavian was in the is in the game. He took back. He actually developed a knight. And he didn't take back with the queen. And now here, what happened? What is this? What? What is this? No, this thing is throwing me. Wait. 1 second. No, 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 no. That's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. So I need... No, no, no. 1 second, guys. Okay. Yeah, hopefully now is good. Okay. So let's continue. Sorry about that. So okay, yeah, let's go from beginnings. I started the game with e4. My opponent responded with Scandinavian. I take, of course, and he picked this motor variation of Scandinavian, knight f6. Before the game, I briefly just take a look what's happening here because I saw that he's playing just this. I played a move d4, he played bishop g4, and here, of course, many people, when they're studying this line, is like they want to see f3, bishop h5, g4, I guess, bishop g6, c4, and some crazy stuff. Now, black sacrificed the pawn, but he's looking for compensation and trying to punish white because of this bad pawn structure. And if white is prepared, white is winning. Here is +1, of course. But my opponent was surprised because I didn't react that way. I played a move bishop to e2. And now I took back with queen. Many people would take here with knight, which is also possible. But it's already much better to take with queen because usually queen is operating very well here on the e line. And also later in the future, you can go for b7 pawn by giving this check. So now at this point, my opponent took on d5 because it's time. Otherwise, I'll play the move c4. And now knight f3. So we are protecting the pawn on d4. That's one thing. Second thing, we are preparing the move c4. He played e6, trying to make the gap for the bishop to get out. And now I play the move a3, controlling that square. So when I play the move c4, I want to keep controlling the b4 square so he doesn't have any annoying checks. It's one of the way of playing this position. He played knight c6, c4, and now he offered a queen trade, which is not proper here because I'm developing my pieces with tempo, kinda. Stepping out of the problems with trading. Of course, black wants to trade here queens in this position since he has less space than white. And now he played a move h6. I think that move is, as a prophylaxis, is fine because it's stopping some knight g5, but knight g5 is not really a threat here for me. My priority is actually to develop as quick as possible and trying to break through with d5 or something. So my opponent now bring the queen back to f5. If he plays any other move, he is losing the game, I think. Because if he goes something like queen to g6, then d5. And now here is already critical for black. of course, taking is very bad since the e-line is getting open. And here I saw something like if he goes knight e7, I would go something like knight b5 or queen b5, which... Can he go for long castle here? In which moment? In which moment? He's not in time yet. I can play knight c3. He goes queen g6 and d5. He's not in time to go because he won't lose the knight. Don't know at which point you are referring. Anyways, so he played queen to f5. Otherwise, any other move. Queen g4 looks like it's possible, but I have h3 and queen takes g2. I was planning to go castle. So now not only the d5 is a threat. Knight h4 is also a threat. That's a famous trap of the queen. So this is threat and this is threat. And he can handle both. If he goes queen g6, not d5, of course. White should not wait for that at all. Just directly striking and opening up the position. Queen f5 was on the board. You thought... okay, so you mentioned before h6. It's possible, I think. Knight c3, queen goes somewhere back, like g6 or here. And then I will most probably castle. I think actually castling long is not good in this position for black. Because later you start with queenside expansion of your pawns. Eventually, I guess, when you eliminate this knight from c6, you jump knight e5. Then you put your rooks on b and c, and you just start pushing and opening up there. So I think that's critical for black. I saw that if he castles long, that's easy game for me. Castling long is not good here. h6, knight c3, queen f5. I castled myself. And now he played a move bishop d6. So in this position, many people would think, why not to break with d5 directly? It's possible if he takes, of course, because you have bishop c5 check, discovery, attacks the king. I saw queen e6 and now very good move queen c2. That was my preparation, if I push d5, of course. And then you want to go rook e1 and, you know, finish the game so he can't take really. And if he castles here or something, then... you just c takes d5, if knight takes d5, rook f1, and position is getting really messy for him. And I guess you win some material here, right? Like, he can't do anything. If he goes... yeah, he just drops the pieces here. It's not working. I saw that, but eventually on the move d5, there is the move knight e5, where I thought if I take on e5, he'll take back with bishop, and more I trade here, like it's fine, and I didn't want to do that. So I played a move knight b5, which is also not the best. Just consolidating here with h3, positioning the rook slowly, rook ad1, rook fe1 for the central breaks and later was much better idea than to go knight b5 here also. But I saw knight b5, if I take this bishop, then later on I don't worry about any tactics on the king side. And also I changed the spirit of the position, I changed the structure. Firstly, I played the move rook c1 because my idea here was to play the move c5, and if he obviously go for bishop f4, I take and play the move g3, where I'm about to take this pawn, which is good for me. But a problem about the move c5 is intermezzo move a6. And now I'm in a problem, practical problem, because if I take on d6, he can even take with queen back, but I saw just pawn takes, and if I take here, he can even ignore that pawn because this pawn is not dangerous. He'll start pushing something like b4 here maybe, or he'll just stabilize with knight e5, rook c8, and you know, he's just fine. Maybe even better because I have bad bishop. So I can't do that to my pawn structure. That was my plan. And then I saw that this is not working. Let's say improve the position, rook ac1, and now I'm actually threatening c5. Because let's burn the move for him. Like, let's say he plays some bad move like this. Now c5 works. And if a6, I take, he takes, and now so rook c5. That's the point. So I was fine with that. But of course, now he has the move a6, where it doesn't make sense to bring the knight back now. If you already started some plan, don't return, don't change your thoughts. So I take, even though I was not a fan of this position. From what I could do to enter this, I'm not big fan, but my position is totally fine. Like, white is obviously slightly more comfortable in this position because of space, and he has very nice center. And I played here the move rook from f to d1. The reason why, because usually these kind of players, 17, 1800, even above, they are trying to defend from something in this position, and they're thinking that d5 is a threat or something, which could be annoying, but d5 would be just drop a pawn, so I can't do that. And then they're playing the move d5, so that's what I wanted. I played rook fd1, simple normal developing move, and I saw that d5 is positionally opening up more possibilities for me. Even though it looks ridiculous to close this bishop even more and put all of your pawns on the dark squares, if this pawn is back on c3, black is much better here, unfortunately to me. He will play rook fc8, knight f5, b5. He'll just start minority attack. But since this pawn is on c5, white is fine here, totally fine, even the one that pushes here. So c5, and then I want to go b4 here next. That's my plan. For example, stopping b4, which looks natural, I saw that in the future at least my queen is getting nice square. And I can also play something like b3 here, and if he goes a4, I can play b4. So I was not scared about any sort of a5 move. It's creating more weaknesses for him on the queen side, obviously. So I thought c5 is decent move here, and many people will also think like, okay, what about e5? This also looks very strong. He's kind of undermining your structure. But black is forgetting here that this bishop is actually a decent piece on e3. And if you open up this piece, then I just say thank you. Here I'm very welcome to take everything, and now I'm ready for bishop d4. I need to unpin myself, obviously, like queen f3. Then I have bishop d4, then some rook lifts and pressure on the king side. And this pawn is eventually very strong. Even some breaks later could happen to activate the c-rook, for example. So e5, I'm not scared about e5. I'm more scared about these knights, how he's gonna find a square for his knights. He eventually started here playing odd moves, knight f5. I mean, he has idea with that one, of course. He wants to jump on c4, obviously. But I was like, okay, that's not working because I have knight e5, and he kind of wasted time on this move. Then he played the move rook fc8. So now he has one trick. He has one trick now. I was planning here to go with something like f3, trying to just restrict his knight, which is now, when I see engine, is fine. But the problem is, I thought that knight b3 works. And if I go rook c3, that there is some move like knight takes c5, and then later to take here. Why is that not working? Did I miss something? Oh, there is intermezzo move g4. I forgot about that. But eventually, if I take here back with my rook or with my pawn, I simply lose the knight on e5. But okay, I forgot that I have intermezzo. So I didn't play f3 yet. f3 is eventually the best move here. You need to restrict this knight. You need to restrict also the queen, so f3 is kind of one of the best moves. But the thing is, I thought, okay, b4 is 100% fine move here. You cannot make mistake by playing this one, since knight b3 loses the knight. It's trapped, so he can't go for that. And I was like, okay, he goes back knight c6, and I go back knight e3. So my knight suddenly becomes better piece on d3 than on f3. And I'm very fine with that. The only behind stuff about this knight being on d3 is that my rook lost connection with the pawn. But eventually I have one big pawn here that protects that one, so I'm not in a problem. And then here there is one problematic story for black. If he wanna go for queen e4 and knight takes d4, this doesn't work because I have the move f3. And now knight takes d4, I just meet with queen f2. And of course, well, I'm just winning a piece now. So knight e3, nice retreatment, and here still pushing e5, I just trade everything, and now even I improved my pawn structure. Later on, bishop d4 will come, so e5 is very, very bad move here. He played a move knight g4, which is very logical. He's trying to provoke my pawns to see how it works. And this is trickier move than I thought, because if I go h3, I thought knight takes, queen takes, he has decent move queen e4. And in this position, I was thinking, okay, if I take this, he takes back. Now I have to think where to put a knight. If I go knight e5, he has just rook d8. And this endgame is... I would pick black in this endgame. Like, black is the one that pushes here. If I take here, I'm worse in this endgame since so many weaknesses. He'll stack the rooks. He'll play rook b8, maybe a5, or already start with a move a5. And I was like, oh, that's not good. That's not good position for me. And then I saw the move knight f4, then rook d8 again, I think. Then d5 is the only move. Takes, now knight takes. But this position, I didn't feel comfortable playing this endgame. Like, why I would simplify until this point. I was like, okay, that's still not good. I don't want to trade pieces. I don't want to trade queens. Here I was thinking, should I take with a pawn? But then e5 is maybe more stronger in these positions, in these structures than earlier. And rook f1, of course, pressing on f9, but this is not enough. It just visually looks good, but it's not enough. It's simply not enough. Like, you can start pressing on f9, but he'll defend. Like, he has also rooks, he has knight. In worst case scenario, he'll play knight e8. So I didn't want to play this. I played a move f3, which I found more practically easier than h3. It's creating weaknesses, obviously, but I want to push f4 if he allows me. And then he went queen g5, which even gives f4 with tempo. And now, of course, if this knight can come on e4, then black is totally fine here. So f4 targets the queen. And now queen goes all the way back to e7. I was like, maybe he should play queen f6 here, or, you know, queen f... what I saw also. Yeah, queen f6 is something I was calculating, then targeting here, and I was planning to go here with knight f2, or maybe even knight f4 or something. Knight e5 looks possible, and if he takes, to take with d pawn, but again, this is moment where you're still simplifying. Doesn't matter what engine recommends. I'm not preferring this position because if black stabilizes, he has better endgame because of this pass pawn. And he will eventually will undermine the structure with rooks later if we change the queens. Of course, here my plan is to go something like rook d4, rook f4, but I didn't find this convenient for how I'm gonna press on the king side. Because he can stack the rooks and push b6. And what can I do on this side of the board? So I didn't want that. On a queen f6, I would play maybe knight f2, then later maybe... why do you like e4 over d4? If you mean on the first move, I played the d4 in the past and then I changed it. I changed the opening from d4 to e4, but I can still play d4 as a first move, not a big problem. If I see that someone is struggling in some opening on d4, I can play d4, doesn't matter. Queen g5, f4, queen e7, rook f1. Okay, now it's just about waiting. Like, I'm waiting for him, and also he's burning so much time here. I think in this moment that he has maybe like 10-15 minutes, I have 50 minutes on clock. So I have big time advantage, and you know, you cannot think for the rest of the life here. And if I keep the position complicated, like to not trade, to not open up anything, to not force the stuff, then he will most probably start making some big mistakes and I will punish it, and that's it. He played queen d7, and white is slightly better here, but it's not still clear how we go for the checkmate. You have to be careful still. I was planning to go something like knight e5, but after take, an a5, black is the one that could be in a driving seat very, very soon here, if I don't play correctly on the queen side. White is still convenient, but if you're planning to go for the rook lefts here, that's not working apparently. It's too slow. In worst case scenario, he can play, I don't know, king h8 and rook f8, f6. I don't know. I didn't see how I can checkmate him here. I also need to reroute my queen on the g line if I... That takes so much time. If you take with a d pawn in this position, then this is terrible. This is even more terrible than... This is terrible, actually. If queen is on g6 or f5, then it could make sense, because queen is out of the game. Now queen is coming here. a5 is very strong. And if you plan to go something like this, I can even take you. So the problem in this position for white, I don't have b5. If I have b5, I will be most probably fine. But now this rook is getting into the game. Then this rook becomes, passive. Rook f1 is the only rook I can rely here to strike on the king side, but that's not enough. So I cannot play on the two wings in the endgame. That's not working here. D takes actually in this position. In this moment here, I explained that how it was. Knight g4, f3 takes queen here. Now knight e5, and now it could make sense. Because he didn't have time to push a5 still. If he goes queen a7, I have a4. And now it's totally different because I can even play a5 here and stuck the structure. This looks, by the way, like a bad move. It's creating the weaknesses, but this is the weakness that only queen can use, not the rooks. So even if he plays something like this in the future, queen b5, I can play rook d4 and not just reroute my play on the king side where I'll most probably give him a checkmate. So this is much different position than this. Much different. So that's the reason why I was just waiting here. Now I have one trick here, rook from c to e1. So the point of this is, if he goes knight e7, I go knight e5, and if he goes queen a4, I go knight takes f7. That was my plan. Takes, queen takes, and obviously this is now collapsing. I can just go f5, f6, and game over. So that's the reason why in this position he played a move rook e8, because knight e7, and okay, he can go eventually after knight e7, knight e5, queen e8, or something like that, but I was like, okay, at that point I'll play g4, and I'm ready for breaks in the next move with f5, and you are definitely in a big trouble. So in this position, my opponent played rook e8, which I think it's a clever move, because later on in all tactics, knight e7 is protected by rook. I don't know if he saw this, but he definitely saw that f5 is not working for me. But I was not thinking about playing f5, actually. I was thinking about playing now knight e5 and just trading here and getting into this position, but still a5. And most probably, if I plan to go rook f3, he'll take, play queen b5, threatening my pawn. I can play rook g3, but, even he has this. So I'm in a trouble here if I cannot take because of queen takes e1 mate. I need to play rook f1. And I don't know, in the worst case scenario, I think he can go king h8 here or something. Can he go king? No, king h8 drops the pawn on f7. So in the worst case scenario, what can happen? I'm threatening now this. So am I winning here? No, I'm not winning. Maybe he can go b6. I not take. Yeah, there is check and then collecting the pawn here. So that's the problem. Like, I'm not in a driving seat here for sure. I'm in a problem now. Rook a4. Possible, I guess. Yeah, possible. Definitely possible. So yeah, rook a1 I was playing. So the point of this move is press on his clock, not reacting on anything. And of course, if he goes knight e7 like he did, I want to play a4 and stop queen b5. So this was fine. This was fine, but usually people are skeptical of playing. You just move your rook to e1. Now you have to move your rook on a1. So people are skeptical about these decisions, but it's totally fine for playing here, because any moment if he goes a5, I go b5. That's the point, and it's important for me that I stop queen b5. He played knight to f5, and here's the moment where people would get scared because suddenly he has a very great spot for the knight. This is not the best spot for the knight. The best spot is to be on d6, but that's the advantage of my pawn on c5. So that's the reason why it's very important in early opening if you get the chance to extend this pawn. So my opponent put the knight on f5, and now he played h5. Of course, he wants to stop g4. Here I played g3 because my plan is to go h3 and g4. That's the point. And I'm also playing slowly here. I don't want to overreact on something and do anything specific. Love the streams and the whole channel, man. Thank you. Appreciate. A rook from e to b8. Nice move. He wants to break through with b6 maybe. And I just played move h3. Actually, I was waiting for b6 because now I think that I have at least 95 followed by c6. And I'm getting stabilized, of course, at this point. How do you calculate? Do you think of 3 candidates moves or something else? And how many moves do you calculate? For example, in this position, okay, here, when it comes to calculation, in this position, there's no tactics. You're first looking for, of course, this kind of candidates moves. Do you have any threats, captures, checks, you know, something really big? There is nothing here. At 95 is the last one, but you always have 95, so you don't want to unnecessarily spend this move on something. So I would like to play 95, but in a certain moment when actually this gives me value. I can play it already, but I didn't. I played move h3, which I think is much better than 95. Because when you play 95, you already committed this move. And your opponent later can kick you with f6. So for example, if you go 95, he'll play queen e8. And next move, he'll kick you back. So you don't get anything from that. So it's much better if he wants to play f6 immediately. Then I didn't burn the move. He created weakness and I need to waste time of bringing the knight. So that's the difference in, move order. That's the reason why I played h3, because my plan is much stronger to go g4. And the point is to just remove the knight from f5, which is really annoying. He's this pawn on d4. And then later I want to open up the h line. But on the other side, he did a clever move g6, which is possible, but it's not the best one. So why this move is not working? Because white is much faster to get the h line. So what's happening here? I played a move g4. We exchanged the pawns, and then he brought a knight back to e7. Queen d8 now on h3, or yeah, queen d8 now, it's also possible. I guess I still go g4, takes, and if your plan was knight h4, I'm fine with that, because even your knight comes on g6 later, or just standing here, I think you're not threatening anything. Like, you don't really want to play g5, have f5, or whatsoever. Or I can even take and then take on f7. So, no, I think this doesn't work. I think what actually works here, that I didn't miss, but I was like, I'm fine with that, is the move h4. g4, knight g3, and now I move my rook somewhere, like rook e1 or rook fc1, and then he goes on e4, but then he'll lose the pawn on h4. So now he'll play some queen e7, queen c7, I guess, and then he'll prepare knight e4. But still, knight e4 could be challenged, and queen is now reserved for staying and protecting this pawn. So I was fine with this position. Of course, if he opens the ranks and lines and get his pieces inside, then I'm cooked. But this knight is not dangerous here. I can go king g2 and, So g6 was played. I played g4, and I already know here that I will win the game because my attack is much faster. So I played a move knight e5. He played a move queen e8. I was at least thinking that he'll play the move queen c7, so he will be in time for king g7 and rook h8. But queen e8 was not good. So here I was thinking, of course, rook lift. You have to see this, and then bringing your rook all the way on h3. That's the main point. That's what you want to do here. And then in this position, if he goes king g7, I found a very nice idea here. Obviously, playing rook h3 here doesn't work. I hope you understand this, because rook h8, and now you didn't make anything with this move. So this just looks that black is on time, but the point of rook h3, not just rook to h3, there is also behind something. Do you see? Can someone tell me what is the idea with the move rook h3? Of course, rook h3 won, but they stop it. Yeah, they also want to play f6. But if they played f6, let's say here, then I have rook h3 now. And now on king g7, I have some breaks with f5 or g5, and that's definitely not good for black. He cannot play f6 immediately. I think king g7, we have f5. If they take with this, we just take and then the g line gets open. So if he takes like this, we take here. If he takes here, we have here. If he takes with knight, we have here. And yeah, that's just blowing up the position. So g5 and king g4. Yeah, rook g3. Yeah, that's the point. But king g7, rook g3. I think now he has f6. And if you go f5, yeah, this is still crushing. This cannot be taken. Yeah, that's the point. But I think f5 directly is even much better here. Because e takes, g takes, knight takes. And now just rook to f3. And then putting the pressure on the f line, just sacrificing the rook for the knight. Or maybe even queen g2 here, which looks also very crushing because you want to take here. I guess protecting is the only move. Otherwise, just then lose the knight. And then you just bring the other one and that's game over. So that's the problem. These rooks are out of the game. That's the problem. So my opponent didn't play queen to c7. He played queen e8. And now, of course, again, the same idea. You want to reroute the queen, the rook on h3. That's the point. He played knight c6, challenging my knight. But of course, we are ignoring that. We are playing rook h3. And now he took on e5. I was thinking queen h4, but I didn't like some knight f3. So yeah, let's just take. I think that's the easiest. And he played queen to e7. And then where is the game over? Wait, I'm not focused. Okay, now I'm focused. But on this position, there is f6 instead of taking the knight. You mean earlier? Here f6? Yeah, I was thinking about that, but you just have queen h4, no? And then you go for rook, queen h8 and rook h7. You can't stop it. Like, I don't care about this. I have just checkmate. So that's it, game over. So yeah, in this position, take, he played queen e7. Yeah, just queen h2, and that's game over. He actually flagged here because he got frozen. He didn't know what to do, and he resigned here in this position, and because checkmate is unavoidable. And also, if he goes queen f8, I was thinking about queen h2 or queen h4, but he has defense, and I'm still better here, of course. But you want to give him a checkmate as soon as possible. You don't want to get anything, you know. So if queen f8, then just queen f6. That's the point. And queen g7, you just ignore this. You need help on the h line. You just play rook f2. If they take you, you take them back. Next move is rook h2. Again, they can't avoid checkmate. In meanwhile, if they try something to open up with b6, that's not on time. You just play rook from f to h2 and checkmate is there. They can't escape it. And that's kind of it. That's game over. So it was fast game. I mean, time control is 60 minutes plus 30 seconds. It's fast time control anyways. You need to be careful with your time management. That's why in the opening is really important to play faster. So yeah, didn't have any big trouble here. For some reason I thought that I have some earlier win in this game. But when I take a look with a computer after the game, I saw that position was totally fine. The whole game is just the line about. So line is totally playable for black also. I think the most critical line in this variation is to go f3. Bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, c4, e6. Now knight c3 takes, and now just to ignore this again and do some h4, g5. But you know, if you're not prepared here, you can get crushed easily as white. This is totally This is suspicious. You know, okay, knight takes d5, knight c6. But, you know, you are pushing your pawns, and if you're not prepared in these positions, if you are not experienced, you should not play it. I think bishop e2 variation is totally fine. And here just take with queen, not with knight, because your knight is misplaced on e2. It's also closing your queen a little bit. You know, you can play here, they will give you a check. You need to find some only moves also, bishop e3, for example, knight c6. Now you're not even in time to play c4. It's really, really slow. So that's why the reason you take with a queen here. Like the other lines, I think in Scandinavian there is this line also, takes, takes. You play knight c3, they give you check. That's where most people are making mistakes. And now in this position is fine, because now you don't go knight f3, obviously, because they destroy your structure. Here you play d4, and they take, you take back with this knight, and now this is fine, because you get faster development. And when you compare this to the position of, where are we at? Here. Yeah, this is different, because, okay, you can play knight c3, but you lose the pawn. And that's the main problem in this position now. So, I'm 12 years old and I'm wondering why I like Open Sicilian and Rosolimo over Alpin. Please explain. I mean, that's my personal choice. I also play Alpin sometimes, so I like both openings. That's totally your choice. So. Okay, yeah, that was some quick stream. Tomorrow we have 2 games. Hey brother, what do you think would happen if you train at best? You can, how much would it take to become imam? I don't know. I need definitely good training, confidence and stability, you know. I think I have a good opening knowledge, good middle game understanding, but sometimes it happens that I'm blundering like 2000, 1700, 1800 players. So you need sometimes you need to work on stability than to work on more openings, you know. Sometimes it's enough to work on confidence. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. For 12, that's fine. All right, that was some good first round. Nice win. Tomorrow we are playing some youngster again. I think I played him once in a blitz. We'll see what happened tomorrow. One round. Yeah, tomorrow is 1 round. It's not double round. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.